Hello, I'm Michael Topham and welcome to this part 2 video of the fireman montage. In the first video, we covered everything that was required to get the image as it looks on screen, and we're now going to move on and enhance the montage even more by introducing a couple of textures, and we'll also adjust the tones to give it a slightly warmer feel. Right, the seventh step in the technique involves adding a cork texture to the montage. And this is something that's much simpler than it sounds. Head up to File in the menu bar, go down and click on Open, and locate the file Cork Texture from the Start Images, and then click on Open. Select the Move tool from the toolbox, and then take hold of the cork texture and drag this on top of the fire station document. You can now head into the Layers palette and double-click on Layer 1 and rename the layer Cork. Hit Enter, and then you can go back to the cork document and close this down. Select the Move tool and make sure the cork texture is covering the entire fire station document, and then go into the Layers palette and change the blending mode of the cork layer from Normal to Overlay, and then decrease the opacity from 100% down to 65%. If you want to create a more subtle effect, reduce the opacity even further. Go up to File, go down to Open, and we now want to load up our second texture, peelingpaint.jpg. Select it, and then click on Open. We're looking to change the tone of peelingpaint.jpg and give it a much warmer sepia feel. So go up to Enhance in the menu bar, and then scroll down to Adjust Color. Move across, and then scroll down and click on Color Variations. Move down the left-hand side inside the Color Variations dialog and check that you're selected on the midtones. Click once on Increase Red and then click once on Decrease Blue, and you'll be able to see the difference between before and after. Before, it was a rather cold peeling paint texture, but now it's got a lovely warm sepia feel. So go up and hit OK to apply that new tone. Just like we did with the cork texture, we're going to drag this peeling paint texture onto our fire station document. So you need to make sure you're selected on the Move tool, and then simply take hold of it and drag it on top of the fire station document. You'll see that you've got another layer in your Layers palette, so move into your Layers palette, double click on Layer 1 and rename it Paint Texture. Hit Enter, and then move back to the Paint Texture document, the peelingpaint.jpg file, and close that down as we no longer need it. With the Move tool still selected, you can then carefully position this peeling paint texture on top of our fire station document, and if you need to, you can just nudge it into position with the cursor keys. We want to reveal the layers beneath the paint texture layer, so we need to change the blending mode. Go into the Layers palette and change the blending mode of the paint texture layer to Overlay, and keep the opacity set at 100%. If you're not entirely happy with the positioning of the texture and the way it falls on the portrait, you can use the Move tool and then move this layer up or down just to find a new position. And I'm quite happy with that position there, and of course you could also use the cursor keys if you wanted to, just to nudge that texture into the perfect position. If you think that the texture is a little bit strong over the fireman's face, go across into the toolbox and select the Eraser tool, and then just very gently just use this with a low opacity of around 50%, and then just brush back a bit of detail on the fireman's face. And you can just brush back a bit of detail there around the eyes and just along the sides of the face, and there we go, that's starting to look a bit better. Just brush back a bit of detail, much better, perfect. The last step in this technique involves improving the foreground contrast. So go to File, down to Open, head into the Start Images folder and load up the last image that you'll need, which is whitecanvas.jpg. Select the Move tool from the toolbox and then just drag this white canvas into our fire station document, and then go back to the white canvas and you can close this document down. Take hold of the white strip with the Move tool and then just drag this down to the bottom of the document, and when you've positioned it, you can then go across into the Layers palette, rename the layer White Canvas, and then we're going to change the blending mode from normal to soft light. You will have instantly noticed that this has brightened the tones in the foreground area. Head back into the Layers palette and reduce the opacity of the white canvas layer from 100% to 90%, and then go across into the toolbox and pick out the Eraser tool. Move into the Options bar and set the eraser to 200 pixels with an opacity of 80%, and then use the eraser very carefully just to brush through the document and remove that noticeable horizontal line where the white canvas butted up against the rest of the document. And I'm just going to move my Layers palette down a little bit out of the way so I can just work on the right side of the document there, just removing that noticeable horizontal line. There we go, creating a really neat blend between the white canvas layer and all of the other layers in our Layers palette. All that's left to do now is save all of your hard work. So go up to File, go down to Save As, and find the location where you'd like to save your final montage. Give it the file name firestationmontage.psd, and saving it as a Photoshop file will mean that you can return to it and make further edits in the future. So now that you know what's involved to create a stunning portrait that's made up from a number of different images and layers, why not try repeating the same technique with some of your own portraits and supporting images? It works really well with subjects that share a common theme, just like the fire station shots that we've used, and we're looking forward to seeing some of your portrait masterpieces. Don't forget you can upload any of your shots onto our Photo Answers website by visiting www.photoanswers.co.uk. We'll be looking out for them. I hope you've enjoyed this second part to the fireman portrait montage technique, and I look forward to seeing you in another video lesson very soon.